Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor's first fight is one of the biggest fights in UFC history. With an intense rivalry and colorful backstory, it is also one of the most interesting. Without further ado, let's get into the legend of UFC 196, Diaz vs. McGregor. We're actually going to start this story off with UFC 194, Aldo vs. McGregor. McGregor becomes the 145-pound champion after knocking out Jose Aldo in just 13 seconds, the fastest UFC win in a title fight. What made this so impressive was that Aldo was considered to be one of the greatest fighters of all time and, no question, the greatest 145-pounder of all time. In fact, Aldo was the only 145-pound champ in UFC history at the time, as he became champ when the division was first created and defended the belt 7 consecutive times, which is the 5th most in UFC history even today. Before becoming the 145-pound champ, McGregor was already a star, but now he seemed to be more than a star, making the cover of the newest EA Sports UFC video game, and with UFC president Dana White calling him the Muhammad Ali of the UFC. With the spotlight all on McGregor, everyone was eagerly anticipating his next fight. For that, McGregor basically only had 3 options. 1, a rematch with Jose Aldo. 2, a fight with 145-pounder Frankie Edgar, who was on a 5-fight winning streak. Or 3, a title fight with the 155-pound champ to try to get a second belt. McGregor's head coach, John Kavanagh, pushed for a title fight at 155, as he did not like Conor continuing to make such a big weight cut down to 145. McGregor had previously been a champion in 2 weight classes in the organization Cage Warriors, so I think that, combined with the ease in which he won his 145-pound belt, made this title shot at 155 such an easy sell. It so happened that the 155-pound belt was on the line in the very next week after Conor's win, with Rafael dos Anjos defending against Donald Cerrone. It became well known that Conor will likely fight the winner and challenge for the belt himself. That brings us to UFC on Fox 17, Dos Anjos vs. Cerrone. Fighting on the card was Nate Diaz, a UFC veteran, fan favorite, and Ultimate Fighter Season 5 winner who had already had 20 UFC fights, but he had never won a title and he was looking to come back after a loss to Dos Anjos. Diaz put on a dominating performance against one of the division's best, Michael Johnson, earning him a unanimous decision victory. However, what came next was something that no one expected, and it would change the fight game forever. When Joe Rogan congratulated Nate on his win in the post-fight Octagon interview, we got to witness the greatest call-out in UFC history.
Fuck that! Conor McGregor, you're taking everything I work for, motherfucker! I'm gonna fight your fucking ass! You know what's the real fight, what's the real money fight is me! Not these clowns that you already punked at the press conference! Don't no one want to see that, you know you beat them already! That's the easy fight! You want that real shit right here! Hey, and unfortunately we can't talk like that on Fox!
This got the attention of many hardcore fans and, of course, Diaz's loyal fan base. However, Diaz's campaign for the fight with McGregor was not helped when Dos Anjos successfully defended his belt in the main event via first-round knockout, and Dos Anjos then proceeded to call it McGregor himself.
Mr. McGregor, if you want to come to lightweight division, this is my division, man. It's better to stay on featherweight division.
The title match between Rafael dos Anjos and Conor McGregor was set for March 5th, 2016, and in the pre-fight press conference, McGregor was brutal.
This guy in Brazilian lingo is a gringo, and that is the truth. In absolutely everything, I believe inside 1 minute I will dust him, I will exit the contest fresh, I will cash the check, I will sign the next contract for UFC 200, the brand new MGM, and we'll go again. 2015 was my year. 2016 is also my year. Every year is my fucking year. Why? Your kids' names are Bob and Donald. Why are you raising American children? Why don't you trust in your own people? So you're going back to Brazil to answer that question while you stay in a hotel that we have to pay for you because you don't have a home over there.
Unfortunately, Dos Anjos broke his foot only 11 days before the fight and had to pull out. but McGregor would still fight on March 5th.
All right, Dana, the show will go on, so who is McGregor going to fight?
He will fight Nate Diaz.
Because Nate was taking the fight on only 11 days' notice, the fight would be at 170 pounds. When questions came to Dana White over how Nate could possibly be ready for a fight with only 11 days' notice, White responded by stating that Nate had actually been previously training for a triathlon. This turned out not to be true. In order to understand the rivalry between these two fighters, you have to understand that Nate felt he had already paid his dues. And he had. He had 10 post-fight awards, which was the third most ever, and in the UFC, Nate had over 200 minutes of fight time versus less than 40 minutes by McGregor. Yet, McGregor was getting a big push despite just getting on the scene. Diaz felt that he had put in more work than McGregor, but he wasn't getting as much love and respect that he deserved. Conor was known for his trash talk, and him and Nate wasted no time getting at it.
They want you to give us a quick count to 10, both of you gentlemen, if you don't mind, just if you wouldn't mind counting to 10.
Nate can only count to 5.
And to kill, always.
And Conor, did you change your approach once it got named Nate for your fight?
The only approach I changed is I dug the grave a little bit wider, a little bit longer for Nate's skinny, fat, long body.
You gotta recognize because he knows what's real. He knows this is the real.
See, you know it's the real. It's the real. You know it's the real. You know it's the real, and you'll know Saturday night.
Yeah, right.
You'll know Saturday night.
You'll know.
Conor was 7-0 in the UFC with 6 knockouts and was the current 145-pound champ. Nate was 13-8 and a huge underdog at -400. The fight would set a UFC record with 1.65 million pay-per-view buys. And finally, it was time. Conor began the fight by trying to fulfill his prediction of the first round knockout, which he had done so many times before. He used a straight left, which had also knocked out so many other opponents. But Nate used an interesting strategy of leaning back when Conor would hit him with that punch, which made it so that he didn't absorb its full power. This was a good strategy, and probably only worked because he was the taller, more lanky fighter. Conor continued to put pressure on Nate and try to knock him out. He did end up cutting Nate over his right eye and did a lot of damage to him in the first round. Most people who saw this fight easily gave Conor round 1. However, Nate was a notoriously slow starter. Most of his wins were come from behind wins in later rounds, and Conor was the opposite. So Nate's strategy was to weather the storm. In the second round, Conor was slowing down. However, Nate was just getting started, as round 1 was basically a warm-up for him. Conor was not prepared for this, and it was very obvious that his cardio was lacking. Nate could easily sense this and continue to pour pressure on Conor, putting him against the fence and leaning all of his weight on him, which is a good strategy to tire out an opponent. Conor tried to rally back, but Nate was sure to shut that down really quick. Nate's pressure and his striking caused Conor to shoot on him, which was perfectly fine for Nate because Nate was way more skilled and advanced on the ground. Nate eventually sunk in the rear naked choke and got the tap. The crazy thing about this submission is that Nate actually punched Conor's head into the submission. He has his right arm around his neck and he used his left arm to punch it in deep. Nate got his 9th submission win in the UFC, second to only Royce Gracie, with the second round rear naked choke.
Nate Diaz, you just shook up the world. How's that feel? Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
In his post-fight interview, Nate gave his assessment of the fight.
Okay, you know, like, you don't have shit to say now, do you? And then I put a knee in his stomach and I hear him go, huh. All of a sudden he's shooting for a takedown. And I'm like, oh, you're a wrestler now. You're a wrestler. I remember I'm the black belt in jiu-jitsu.
It seemed that a big part of why Nate got the win was due to his cardio, which was pretty incredible since he took the fight on just 11 days notice.
Hey, on my worst day, I'll train for 2 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have hobbies.
From McGregor's side, there was a much more solemn attitude, but he took the loss very well.
Can you describe the emotions after a loss like that?
You know, it stings real bad, but this is the fight business. I've been on the end of many defeats in my life, and I've rose back, so I will not shy away from it. I will not make excuses for it. I will assess it and come back.
Conor took the defeat like a true champion and did himself proud, and Nate finally got the love and respect he deserved, rising to stardom and doing interviews on Fox Sports.
This has been great.
This has been fun. Will you come back and hang out with us again? Yeah. Can I have something?
Sure. Take whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
We don't own anything. Those are stuck there. Okay, they aren't stuck anymore.
Perfect. We'll be back.
And there you have it. That is the legend of Diaz versus McGregor 1. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like. Consider subscribing if you want to see the part 2 to this, which is going to be the rematch. And any suggestions of other fights I should do, go ahead and put it in the comments. And I read every comment and I reply to almost every comment. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to put them in. And be sure to have a good day.